In the months since COVID-19 struck, we've heard repeatedly scientific phrases about models, such as flatten the curve. Let's explore such a model. Imagine a single isolated system, say a nursing home. For the sake of simplicity, we'll think of it as a closed system. That is, the staff and patients are confined within the institution. We'll model the spread of the disease within this closed system. We begin by recognizing that somehow one of the patients or staff becomes infected. From this point in time, COVID could spread rapidly, or it could, after infecting some individuals, die out. Which will it be? And how many patients and staff will be affected? We need to define some variables whose evolution we want to predict. S will be the count of susceptible individuals at a particular moment T, measured, say, in hours or days from the introduction of the virus by patient 0. I will be the count of infected individuals at time T. R will be the count of recovered individuals at time T. We'll assume that individuals transferring from the S category to R attain permanent immunity. The R category may also include a hopefully small number of individuals who unfortunately succumbed to the disease. In either case, no one can leave the R category. Summarizing, the dynamics of the disease are the movement of individuals from categories S to I and to R. Let's introduce a timeline marked off in short time steps of delta t. We'll describe the changes that take place in the interval delta t. The timeline is called a mesh. Any time point on the mesh can be referred to as t sub n, where the subscript n increases from 0 to uppercase N subscript t. We can write this mathematically as t sub n equals 0 to n subscript t, and Tn is equal to n times delta t. We'll use the notation S superscript n to denote the number of susceptibles at time t sub n. Note that the notation S superscript n does not mean S raised to the power of n. Similarly, the infecteds and the recovereds at t sub n will be I superscript n and R sup n. We would like to model the trajectories of these three variables from the time of initial infection to their ultimate states when all individuals will have moved into the R category or the virus will have died out and no further infections occur. Our model will numerically approximate the evolving values of S, I, and R at each time step. So let's begin to build that model. Initially, there are many individuals in the susceptible category, but only one infected person. That would be the so-called patient 0. In a short time interval that we'll call delta t, some people will be infected. How many of the susceptibles will become infected will depend on the number of possible pairings that take place. That would be the number of susceptibles multiplied by the number of infected individuals, or SI. If initially S were 40 and I were 1, that would make 40 possible ways in which infected and susceptible individuals can come into contact. Early in the pandemic, Dr. Fauci or some other epidemiologist might have observed that typically during a time period t, out of n possible pairings, m actual pairings took place. The fraction m over n t would be the probability of a pairing in a unit of time in any comparable environment. We can call that value the Greek letter mu. In our situation, therefore, the probability of pairing in interval delta t will be mu multiplied by s multiplied by I multiplied by delta t. But only a fraction of those meetings will result in an infection. That will be the probability of infection p. So the number of infections in delta t will be p mu s I delta t. If we let p mu be represented by the Greek letter beta, which would be known or measured by Dr. Fauci, we have beta si delta t. With regard to our timeline or mesh, we can write the reduction in s in the interval delta t from tn to the next time marker, tn plus 1, as s sup n minus s sup n plus 1 is equal to beta s sup n I sup n delta t. Multiplying by minus 1, we can express the reduction in s as a negative quantity. We call this type of equation a difference equation, since it expresses the difference between two adjacent values on the mesh. This will be the first of three difference equations that we will use to model the spread of the COVID-19 virus within our isolated environment. Of course, the loss in S will be a corresponding gain in I. So we can write I sup n plus 1 minus I sup n is equal to beta delta t S sup n I sup n. Now there is also a loss in category I. During delta t, some infected individuals will recover and enter the R category. To get a handle on the recoveries, the CDC, or Center for Disease Control, might have measured M out of a possible N infected people recovered in a representative time period T. As we did with the susceptibles transferring to the infection category, will represent the probability of recovery per unit time as gamma. Then on the average, gamma delta t I superscript n infected persons will recover in delta t. We subtract this value to get the total change in the I category during the short time interval from n to n plus 1. This will be the second of our three difference equations constituting our SIR model. Finally, the change in the R category is our third difference equation. R sup n plus 1 minus R sup n is equal to gamma delta t I sup n. Summarizing, we have three difference equations that fully model the exchanges amongst our three categories S, I, and R. We can rearrange these equations so as to isolate our unknown quantities at time point n plus 1. This set of difference equations is known as the SIR model. Now it's time to program our SIR model for the spread of COVID-19 within a confined system. We'll use computer code from the excellent textbook Programming for Computations by Sven Ling and Hans-Peter Langtengen, available for free on Amazon. We'll fire up our programming environment, namely Jupyter Notebook, where we will use the amazing Python programming language. Import the NumPy library, which we'll reference in our code with the alias np. NumPy stands for Numerical Python. The NumPy library provides functions that operate on arrays of numbers. Similarly, we import pyplot from the matplotlib library and will invoke it via the alias plt. Add a comment to indicate that a unit of time will be 1 hour. Next, set our parameter beta. It is, from our previous discussion, a measure of the probability of a successful viral transfer from an infected to a susceptible individual. Refer back to our first difference equation. A study, possibly by the Center for Disease Control, recorded 40 susceptibles and 8 infecteds at the beginning of a day in a comparable environment. It found that 10 new infections occurred 24 hours later. Beta is then set to 10 divided by 40 divided by 8 divided by 24. Similarly, let's set our gamma parameter using our third difference equations. Among 15 infected, it was observed that 3 recovered in a day. Set our short time interval, delta t, to 6 minutes, or 1/10 of an hour. To see how the infection spread, we will compute the number of susceptibles, infecteds, and recovereds repeatedly over 30 days, or 720 hours. That will give us the total number of time steps, n_t, being 30 times 24 hours divided by 0.1 of an hour, or 7,200 steps. Now call upon the linspace function from the NumPy library. It will calculate and store the entire sequence t of time points spaced at 1/10 of an hour over the 720 hours. In the parentheses, we pass to the function the start at time 0, stop at 720 hours, and total number of time points of n_t plus 1. The plus 1 is due to the fact that we started counting time points at 0. Next, we invoke the NumPy function zeros, which will create an array containing 7,201 zero values in our susceptibles array. We do the same for infecteds and for recovereds. Now we set up the starting states for S, I, and R at time 0. That's our initial condition. At time 0, there are 50 susceptible staff and patients. We need 1 infected individual, initially, in order to start the virus spread process. And of course, the recovereds at time point 0 will be 0. We have all the initial conditions and parameters needed to simulate the infection and recovery process. We will step our 3 equations forward every 6 minutes. This is easily done in a for loop with counter n iterating over a range of n_t, or 7,200. The first computation in our loop is our susceptible difference equation. It computes S at time point n plus 1, which is 0 plus 1 at the first iteration. It will repeat the calculation 7,200 times, giving us the number of susceptibles at each time point. Same for the infecteds difference equation, and same for the recovereds. At this point, we have calculated and stored 7,201 values for each of the susceptibles, infecteds, recovereds, as well as a sequence for time containing 7,201 time points. We're ready to plot all this data. Begin by assigning to the variable fig the matplotlib figure object, which will contain our plots. Now invoke plot to draw 3 plots, which we'll call L1, L2, and L3. L1, L2, and L3 are the curves that display respectively the susceptibles versus time, the infecteds versus time, and the recovers versus time. Give the figure a legend. It will mark each of L1, L2, and L3 with the labels S, I, and R respectively, and it will place the legend at the center on the figure's right side. Label the x-axis hours. Save the figure in both PDF and PNG formats. And finally, show the graph by hitting Run. At the start, there are a large number of susceptibles and a low number of infecteds. Very soon, within 70 hours, the disease breaks out till about 100 hours, when there will have been 30 infected individuals. At that point, the number of infected individuals begins declining as the recovereds increase. By the end of the 30 days, the recovered category includes all 50 individuals, while the infecteds and susceptibles drop to 0. We might consider this a worst-case scenario wherein virtually everyone will have been infected. Obviously, the predictions depend heavily on the beta and gamma parameters that we supply to the model. What if beta were a smaller number? What if beta were smaller than the 10 divided by 40 times 8 times 24? Say it was 5 divided by 40 times 8 times 24. We see that the virus infects a maximum of only 20 individuals before the recovery process predominates. Nevertheless, almost everyone became infected. But if beta is reduced to 2 divided by our same denominator, the COVID outbreak has only a minor impact, with the number of infecteds peaking at a level of 7 before declining to 0, at which point only 30 individuals will have suffered infection. Naturally, models can be made to account for policies such as compulsory masks, social distancing, a vaccination program, or even the effect of herd immunity. And we can expand the model from the isolated institution to the community and beyond. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.